Welcome to Patriots Corner Live with Dr. Hill Law, your source for unfiltered conservative analysis. We're here to dissect this week's biggest stories in politics and the economy, all from a grounded conservative perspective. No spin, just straight talk about what matters to you. We'll delve into the issues shaping our nation, hold our leaders accountable, and discuss and debate solutions that uphold our core American values. If you are new here, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future streams. Now, what if a single referee could ignore the rule book, invent a new foul on the spot, and hand a championship game to the other team? That's exactly what just happened in our legal system. A federal judge, in a shocking and deceptive maneuver, just tore up the Constitution to single handedly stop a lawful executive order from President Trump. This sounds like a political thriller, but it's the new dangerous reality we're facing. Just when the administration secured a massive and necessary victory at the Supreme Court, one judge in New Hampshire decided to defy the highest court in the land in a ruling that has sent shockwaves of alarm through constitutional conservatives. He may have created the most powerful tool yet for activist judges to wage war on a president. This isn't just about one order anymore. This is about a fundamental assault on the balance of power. It was a move so outrageous, the White House immediately called it what it is: an unlawful attempt to circumvent the Supreme Court's ruling. In this video, we are going to break down the high stakes battle that led to this moment. We'll explain the critical Supreme Court decision that was meant to restore order, unpack this cynical legal trick a federal judge used to counter it, and explore the explosive unintended consequences that could threaten the very fabric of our nation for years to come. Now, this one ruling is about to become the blueprint for every radical left attack on the policy agenda that you voted for. And it all started with one of the most fundamental issues we face: the sovereignty of our nation and the meaning of citizenship itself. Now, you can catch Patriots Corner live 3 evenings a week on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, and Facebook. If you can't catch it live, you can listen to all the episodes on Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio approximately an hour after they air live. Or you can catch them on our website at Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. Again, that is Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. Your engagement is crucial for the success of Patriots Corner. If you have a question or want to make a statement, please do so. I will review them at the end of each segment, read a few live, and answer any questions from respectful comments that foster intellectual debate. Your feedback is invaluable in shaping the discussion. Also, don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe for keeping up with the stuff. Now I'm gonna pause real second. I was trying to do something real quick, but let me trying to make sure I got trying to see if it'll let me edit my live video so I can make this as being, if it'll let me make it to be public. No, there's no way I can make it a public live, which makes no sense. Okie dokie. I guess I'll just not, Facebook will just have to be aired later because I can't change the live or any of that. So let's get going. Okay, first segment. The first lie: the Supreme Court restores order. Now, to understand the sheer audacity of what this judge in New Hampshire did, you first have to understand the bombshell Supreme Court decision from just weeks earlier. For years, a legal weapon called the nationwide injunction had become the favorite tool for the left-wing groups to fight a conservative administration. Now, all right, got my chat up. Imagine one traffic cop in a tiny town putting up a roadblock that stops all traffic on every highway in the entire country. That's what a nationwide injunction did. A single unelected federal judge in any corner of the country could issue an order that blocked a major federal policy from being enforced anywhere in the United States. Now, it was chaos. Opponents of the Trump administration used it consistently to halt critical policies on border security. Proponents of the Constitution saw these injunctions as a massive, tyrannical overreach. They rightly argued it was absurd that one judge could out of more than 600 could paralyze the entire executive branch. The Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, finally agreed. It was like the federal government finally telling that one traffic cop he only has jurisdiction over his own town's main street, not the whole country's highway system. The majority ruled that activist federal courts simply do not have the authority to issue these sweeping universal injunctions. Now, the court's reasoning was that courts are supposed to provide relief only to the specific people in a case, not act as a shadow government. This ruling was a bombshell for the left. It rightfully took their most powerful weapon away. It meant a judge could only block a policy for the specific plaintiffs in that one court. Now, this set the stage for a critical confrontation over one of President Trump's signature initiatives, his executive order to end birthright citizenship for the children of illegal aliens. Signed on the first day of his second term, this order aimed to correctly interpret the 14th Amendment. For years, the left has twisted the 14th Amendment citizenship clause. Think of it like a country club membership rule. The rule says membership is for those living in the clubhouse and subject to the clubhouse's authority. The original meaning is clear. You have to be a full member who follows the rules, not just a stranger who wandered into the building. But for decades, an activist interpretation has argued that anyone who is physically born inside the clubhouse is automatically a member with full privileges. The president's order sought to restore the original meaning that to be a citizen, you can't just be born on U.S. soil. Your parents must also be subject to the jurisdiction, meaning loyal to the authority of the United States as citizens or legal residents. The left was horrified. Immediately, lawsuits were filed and activist judges issued nationwide injunctions, but then came the Supreme Court's decision, which vacated those injunctions. It seemed like the administration had won. The open borders activists and their lawyers were back at square one. Stripped of their most effective tool, they needed a new scheme, and they needed it fast. Now, as we come to the end of our first segment, I would like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, or hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions and reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Now, don't forget to check out our website, Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. That is Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. You can sign up for free to access our weekly blog, receive notifications about our next live show, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show, gain access to extra content, and participate in one-on-one discussions. All right, now I'm going to pause this, get a drink real quick, and trying to see where my other page went to. That was weird. I had my YouTube up and it went to something else totally, which was kind of weird. Okay. Alrighty. So, I mean, yeah, it's now some will argue because this judge, I'll get this later in the show, but some are going to argue that this judge did what he did because actually he's a judge that was appointed by um uh Bush. I can't remember if it was Bush Senior or Bush Junior, but he was appointed by one of the Bushes. So I don't know if that's was really his move when he did what he did, but we'll see. Now, Section 2, the activist judge scheme. Now, this is where the story shifts to a federal courtroom in Concord, New Hampshire, and U.S. District Judge Joseph N. LaPlante, the ACLU score in the Supreme Court's decision, found a single sentence in a concurring opinion by Justice Brett Kavanaugh where he noted a class action lawsuit might be another way to get a similar result. It was the back door they were looking for. Think of it this way. The Supreme Court told them they couldn't shut off the main water valve for their entire country, so the ACLU found a different pipe. They filed a new lawsuit, but this time they asked the judge to let them represent every single person affected by the policy in the entire country as one giant group, a nationwide class action lawsuit. And I'm sorry, I've getting my doctorate in law and policy. While I am not an attorney, I have never, ever heard of a class action lawsuit being put out this broadly, this nationwide. I've heard of it covering all the customers for like filing class action lawsuit against T-Mobile or AT&T or Verizon. I've heard of it covering all current and past um, customers of those companies, but you still have to join the lawsuit. They still send you something and say, hey, do you want to join this lawsuit? You're not automatically protected. You have to join it to get those protections and to see anything from the case, which makes no sense. Now, the ACLU argued their proposed class should include every baby born in the United States after February 20th, 2025, whose citizenship would be correctly denied under the executive order. Their plan was simple. The Supreme Court says we can't have a nationwide injunction. Fine, then just give us a nationwide class and we'll get the same result. All eyes turned to Judge LaPlante. The Trump administration's lawyers argued this was a blatant and cynical end run around a clear Supreme Court directive. Now, I want to go back to something I just said. You notice it said every baby born or before, it said born after February 20th, 2025. Okay, so that means now they're putting into this class unborn babies. Now, what do you think that means? Now, we'll get to this in a minute. We'll get this here and later in the show, but this is where, while this was a loss as far as the executive order and birthright citizenship goes, this also, thanks to this judge, it may be one of the largest wins for the conservative movement in legal terms in a very, very long time. Bigger than Roe v. Wade being overturned. Now, but Judge LaPlante rushed ahead, claiming a delay would harm the plaintiffs. He dismissed the government's arguments as unpersuasive and cut right to the chase, stating there's no time for discovery. He tried to justify his actions, saying, I'm the judge who wasn't comfortable with issuing a nationwide injunction. Class action is different. The Supreme Court suggested class action is a better option. Then he delivered the ruling that blew a hole through the Supreme Court's authority. He certified a nationwide class. He then issued an injunction, not for the whole country, but just for his newly created class, which of course was the whole country. It was the same result, just through a different legal pipe. President Trump's executive order was once again blocked from taking effect anywhere. In explaining his decision, Judge LaPlante declared the question was not a close call and that depriving these children of U.S. citizenship would inflict irreparable harm, calling citizenship the greatest privilege that exists in the world. Now, as we come to the end of our second segment, I would like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, or hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions and reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Now, don't forget to check out our website, Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. That is Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. Now, you can sign up for free access to our weekly blog, receive notifications about our next live show, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show, gain access to extra content, and participate in the one-on-one discussions. Signing up on the website does not cost you money. It's just giving your email. That way I can, if you're not following me on and set up to get notifications on YouTube or Twitch or Rumble, or you would like more than a 5-minute warning or something to when it's going to be done, I can send it to you that way. So let me know and we will get that taken care of. Now, I was trying to see if I had any messages. I don't see any right now. Don't see any chats going on in here. Oh, nothing for Rumble, nothing YouTube, Twitch. All right. It's not showing anybody in YouTube right now. I guess I tried too early on this Friday. I was trying a little bit earlier so I could hopefully not have anybody, but I guess maybe I should have waited another hour. Should have waited till 6 o'clock instead of 5:30. All right, well, let's get on to segment 3, deconstructing the deception. All right, now what Judge LaPlante did was more than just a ruling. It was a roadmap for judicial activism. He gave every radical judge, every radical group in America a new way to defy the Supreme Court. Let's break down this legal trickery. He followed the letter of the Supreme Court's ruling while completely gutting its spirit and intent. It's like a parent telling their kid you are grounded. You are not allowed to go to your friend's party. So the kid organizes an even bigger party and has all his friends come to his own house instead. When confronted, he says, "Yes, what? I didn't go to their party." He technically followed the rule, but he found a loophole to completely defy the parent's authority. That is exactly what this judge did to the Supreme Court. A class action allows a court to issue a remedy for an entire group. The ACLU convinced a sympathetic judge that every child born to non citizen parents shared a common legal question. By certifying this class, Judge LaPlante essentially created a single legal entity made up of every affected baby in the nation. So when he issued an injunction protecting that class, the protection was by definition nationwide. Now, this has immediate and profound implications. The Supreme Court's decision was supposed to stop a single judge from dictating national policy, but Judge LaPlante's ruling provides a powerful new blueprint to bypass that. Now, any left leaning group challenging a major federal policy on the border, on energy, on anything will almost certainly follow this exact model. They will go judge shopping, file a nationwide class action, and get a class wide injunction that achieves the exact same results as the universal injunction the Supreme Court just outlawed. The White House immediately saw the danger this presented, proposed the administration's argument that this was an abuse of class action certification procedures, signals the battle line for the appeal. They will argue that Judge LaPlante twisted the rules for class actions precisely to achieve a result the Supreme Court had just forbidden. The appeal will now go to the First Circuit Court of Appeals and most inevitably back to the Supreme Court. But this time, the question will be about the limits of class actions. Can they be used as a backdoor to get nationwide injunctions? All right, so as we come to the end of our third segment, I would like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, or hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions, reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Do not forget to check out our website, Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. That is Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. You can sign up for free to get access to our weekly blog, receive notifications about our next live show, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show, gain access to extra content, and participate in one-on-one discussions. Now let's get back to the we got a couple more sections to go. Let me check. I'm gonna check one thing real quick because it's weird that I haven't seen anybody come up on YouTube. I'm just trying to make sure that everything's the way it's supposed to be on here. All right. All right, that should help some at least. I didn't get everything in there, so at least now it's got the recording date. It's got some tags in there. All right, so let me get that. All right, so I've got those saved. Sorry about the little break here. Just wanted to make sure that I've got some of this stuff going on, and then make sure I had some stuff set up. Okay, everything else should be good. So, all right, let's get back. Don't have any comments on the other one. Let's get back to segment 4, the Pandora's box for the sanctity of life. Now, this is where this ruling actually could be a really large benefit to conservatives and the right to life movement, because this judge acted so expeditiously that he may have stopped one thing, but opened up a whole other can of worms on the other side. And promise you, I'm sure every Christian and right to life group is out there going after this. Because while this ruling was focused on immigration, he has opened a Pandora's box and may have inadvertently created a new pathway in the most important battle of all, the fight for the sanctity of life. For decades, the goal of the pro-life movement has been to establish fetal personhood, the foundational truth that a baby in the womb is a person under the law and entitled to the 14th Amendment rights to life. The disgraced ruling of Roe v. Wade wrongly claimed the word person does not include the unborn. Overturning that lie is the Holy Grail. So, how does Judge LaPlante's ruling on citizenship connect to this? In his haste to stop the president, he set a legal precedent with earth shattering potential. The lawsuit in New Hampshire was filed on behalf of individuals, including a pregnant woman, and the class he certified was a group of people who did not even exist yet. Babies to be born, the unborn. So, in doing so, he legally recognized a future group of human beings as a class worthy of protection. He built a legal bridge to protect future citizens after they cross the threshold of birth. Pro life warriors are now looking at that bridge and saying, why can't we use that same bridge to protect them just a few months earlier, before they're born? Judge LaPlante and his activism provided the materials and the design. He created the legal argument and precedent. Suppose a court can protect a class of unborn children who will one day be affected by citizenship law. In that case, a constitutional judge can surely protect a class of unborn children who are being affected right now by the violence of abortion. So, in reality, this judge helped us. He may have gone against a lot of stuff, but he has actually now made the argument for making abortion federally illegal all over the United States much easier. He has reversed over 30, 40 years of president and arguments and fighting for the pro-abortion and pro-choice by making this ruling. Now, some people will say, "Oh, well, he did that because he's a pro-life judge because he was appointed by President Bush and all that." But from what I understand, he is a very anti-Trumper. So I doubt he was thinking about abortion or right to life when he made this decision. All right. So that will, who knows if we'll ever figure that out. Now, this is the accidental genius of the judge's ruling. He was given the pro life movement the very tool they need. The strategy session writes itself. Violate nationwide class action on behalf of all unborn babies and force a court to decide the ultimate question: is an unborn child a person under the law? Thanks to Judge LaPlante's desperate attempt to stop Trump, the pro life movement now has a precedent to argue that the answer is yes. So, as we come to the end of segment 4, I would like to remind you to please like, comment, follow, and hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions and reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Don't forget to check out our website at Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. That is Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com, all one word, no spaces or underscores. You can sign up for free to access our weekly blog, receive notifications of our next live show, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show again, gain access to extra content, participate in one-on-one discussions. All right, so I'm going to take a little shorter break here, just a little drink. I know I've not really had anybody on YouTube. I know I've had a couple people, one person in Twitch, and I've had a couple people in Rumble, but still nobody making comments. So I guess we will get going. Keep on going. All right. Section 5, the broader war over personhood. Now, this isn't just speculation. It was grounded in a very real and rapidly escalating war over the legal definition of personhood. The push to recognize the personhood of the unborn is an active and increasingly successful movement. All right. So look no further than Alabama. In early 2024, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that frozen embryos were legally unborn children under state law. The decision sent a clear message: in Alabama, legal personhood begins at conception, or we can consider even a case in Georgia. Georgia's state law now allows parents to claim an unborn child with a detectable heartbeat as dependent on their state tax returns. The underlying legal principle is revolutionary. It assigns legal and financial recognition to a baby in the womb. So across the United States, states are passing laws that incrementally build up to the legal status of the unborn. According to some reports, nearly half of all states have some form of law on the books that incorporates fetal personhood language. What this shows is that the idea of granting legal rights to the unborn is not a hypothetical. It's happening now, piece by piece. Their goal is to create so many instances of fetal personhood in state law that the Supreme Court will eventually be forced to recognize a national constitutional right to life from conception. It is within this charged context that Judge LaPlante's decision must be viewed. The nationwide class action, as used by an activist judge in New Hampshire, is exactly the kind of tactical innovation pro life strategists will now use. They saw a federal judge certify a nationwide class of potential future human beings, and while the context is entirely different, Judge LaPlante handed them the legal principle on a silver platter. So as we come to the end of segment 5, I would like to remind you to please comment, follow, and hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future episodes. Also, I will now take any questions and reply to a few comments before starting the next segment. Don't forget to check out our website, Patriots Corner with drlaw.com, where you can sign up for access to our weekly blog, receive notifications about our next live show, and hit the subscribe button, which takes you to our locals community. There you can support the show, gain access to extra content, and participate in one-on-one discussions. And now going on to my last segment, the immediate threat to our republic. While the potential ripple effects are fascinating, we must focus on the immediate undeniable consequences of Judge LaPlante's ruling. The true bombshell is what it definitely means for the balance of power between the president and an out-of-control judiciary. Judge LaPlante's ruling didn't just reopen a door the Supreme Court had closed. He gave the left a master key that can unlock any door to stop any conservative policy dead in its tracks. This changes the calculus for every left-wing activist group in the country. The Supreme Court's decision to limit nationwide injunctions was supposed to stop the madness. Now the game has changed. The New Hampshire case provides a clear roadmap for anarchy. Find a few plaintiffs, go judge shopping in a liberal jurisdiction, and move for a nationwide class certification. If they succeeded, one activist judge can once again paralyze the entire country. This isn't just a threat to our border security. Think of the implications. Environmental groups challenging American energy independence could use this. Anti-business activists fighting to restore crippling regulations could use this. Left-wing organizations battling new election integrity laws could use this. The list is endless. Judge LaPlante's ruling reopens the door to judicial tyranny. It erodes executive power and ensures that major conservative policies will face a barrage of nationwide legal challenges from the start. The Trump administration will undoubtedly fight this ferociously. The core issue is now whether this new class action trick will be allowed to stand. If Judge LaPlante's ruling is upheld, it will solidify a new weapon for the deep state. If it is overturned, it will be a major victory in the fight to reclaim our republic from activist judges. This single case has morphed into a titanic struggle over the very structure of our government. Now, also, even if he loses this case, is if they still do rule that they are, the Supreme Court could rule that the unborn babies do have personhood, but they could also rule that this is taking the, like it said, this is taking the act of a nationwide injunction beyond. I mean, this is pretty much doing a nationwide injunction. It's taking a class action, stretching a class action suit far beyond the scope that they've ever been used for. It's going way past what a class action is supposed to cover. Because unborn babies can't sign on to the class action. So if they can't sign on to the class action, people who don't even know if they're going to have babies yet, how can they sign on to that class action? All right. So even if they lose this case, there's still a chance that it sets the legal precedent for approving the right to life fight. So all I can say is liberal. I guess his Trump derangement syndrome got in the way. He wasn't thinking about it. He was trying to move this case beyond faster than he needed to. And now it's one of those things. So we'll see what happens, see how it goes. Hopefully we'll get it going. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the conclusion done before. I'm not going to repeat. Doesn't look like I have any people in here, so I'm not going to repeat the website and everything. I want to get to the end of this segment, and then I was going to try to talk about some stuff that happened today on the speech from being, I live in Texas, and from the Texas stuff where the speech happened today. So in conclusion, let's recap The extraordinary events of the last few weeks. The Supreme Court tried to restore the rule of law by striking down nationwide injunctions. But in a stunning act of defiance, a federal judge in New Hampshire, Joseph LaPlante, embraced a deceptive legal strategy. He certified a nationwide class action, creating a new way to block a federal policy across the entire country and making the Supreme Court's ruling almost meaningless. The immediate result is that the president's common sense birthright citizenship order is once again on ice. But the long term consequences is far more dangerous. This ruling has forged a new weapon for anyone looking to attack a conservative president. And as we discussed in his attempt to stop Trump, this judge set a powerful legal precedent that reorganizes a class of unborn children, handing the pro life movement the very legal tool they have been waiting for to establish fetal personhood and defend the right to life. The case is now on a fast track back to the Supreme Court. They will have to decide, did this judge twist the law to impose his own political will? The outcome will change more than just one policy. It will define the battlefield between the White House and its enemies for a generation. What do you think about this? Was this an activist judge legislating from the bench and shredding the Constitution to push a radical agenda? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe in defending the Constitution and the rule of law, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. This battle is far from over, and you need to stay informed. And I will be keeping updated and following this and any other stuff, considering I do have my doctorate in law. I do also do videos on military, foreign policy and stuff like that. Whatever there's really going with what's really going on in the news that week and everything, because obviously it would get boring if I just keep doing the same show over the same Supreme Court case and doing constantly just updating on the case. It goes day by day by day by day, week by week by week by week. So that I won't do. But please, actually, before I get to the final closing set of the days and stuff, what I want to talk about is these people sitting here and trying to say and attack and say that President Trump or all these false narratives that it was his cuts to Doge, it was the cause of what happened in Texas and all that. No, it wasn't. All right. The warnings were out. The weather service was overstaffed. It was not understaffed. Two, that area, you don't understand how fast that water came through. And it was in the middle of the night when everybody's asleep. Now, if you get a weather warning, are you going to just stay up all night and not sleep just in case? I mean, really? No. And if you're dead asleep in the middle of the night, is your cell phone going to wake you up even if it does get a warning that goes off? Or if you're out there in the middle of nowhere where those camps are, the bet is you probably don't even have cell phone service. I mean, I went to church camp out not too far from where that camp was. So I grew up going down there for church camp. I mean, that whole area is filled with church camps, not just all girls, but all different types of church camps, all there along the all along the river there, and the tributaries of that river. They're all over the hill country out there. All that needs to worry about right now is getting back to normal down there, getting the rebuild done, finding the people, helping them with their losses, helping them find their loved ones so they can lay them to rest and get peace. But it has nothing to do with politics. It should not be a political issue. So all these pundits out here that are lying and putting out false information just to try to get political points, it won't work. Maybe a couple of your far leftist social media dragons that's all they get their news from. They don't pay attention to anything else. They just get all their news in 3-second, 10-second sound bites. They don't even listen to a minute video. They don't listen and actually watch news channels. They don't actually watch anything. Then, of course, they might believe you. But that's the problem is too many people, they pay attention to a 3-second clip, but they don't actually get the whole context of the whole clip. Because you can take a 1 or 2 second or 3 second or 5-second clip almost out of anybody and make it sound different than what it was actually meant to be. Because it can be taken out of context. If you don't hear the first part and the second part, you don't get the full context of it. So that had nothing to do with it. And it's ridiculous that they would even try to do that when it has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with a act of nature. But So please join us every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday evening. Current times are not exactly set, so please subscribe or follow and sign up on our website, Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com, to receive notifications every time we go live. That's Patriots Corner with drhilllaw.com. Each episode will be available live on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitch. If you can't catch it live, you can watch or listen to it on Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. I still don't see. I still see I have one person in Rumble. Don't have. Looks like I have one person in Twitch or had a person in Twitch. Don't see any chat messages yet. So I will thank you and catch it next time and see you later.